I got a few requests to cover some advanced React topics, and many of them asked me to demonstrate how to use React hook forms. This is React hook form is a form validation library which is very popular nowadays. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to just show how to use React hook form. I'm going to show you how to create reusable components using Material UI and React hook form. So if you don't know what React hook forms are, go to react-hook-forms.com and go through this. I will also be using Material UI, so material-ui.com. So let's begin by creating a React app. I'm going to name it Material React Hook Form. Okay. So it has completed creating a React app and created a folder. Let's see the content of the folder. So it has created all the basic structure. I use yarn. If you don't use yarn, you can use npm as well for this. Now I'm going to add Material UI core. Installation instruction for Material UI core for npm are here. Similarly, I'm going to add a React hook form. Okay, and I'm going to yarn start. Okay, so our basic React application is ready and we can proceed now. I'm going to use Visual Studio Code. Okay, and I'm going to remove all the CSS and unwanted files. I'm going to remove in the test cases for now. Just want to keep it plain simple. I will modify index and remove this report web vitals, all other unwanted stuff from here. From app also I'm going to remove CSS and everything. Remove everything and keep hello world. From public also I'm removing the fav icon and logos, and in manifest also I'm going to remove these things. Okay, so you have the bare minimum required structure. Let's see if it's still working. Yes, it's still working. Now let's go ahead and create a simple form component. So I'm adding one component here and I'm calling it myform.js, and again exporting my form from here, and in my app.js inside this division I'm using that my form. Okay, okay, so my form is visible. Now let's go ahead and add a text field from Material UI library. Go there, I'll pick this outline text field. So it is text field label and variant. So import text field from material grow core. Oh sorry, I don't have to do it here, I have to import it into my form here, and I'm going to add one text field here and name it first name. Let's put label as first name as well, and I'm going to put variant as outlined. Okay, let's see if it's working. Yes, it is working. It's too big for me. Let's put size also, size small. These are our cosmetic things, you can customize them as you need it. Okay, I forgot a double quotes. Perfect. So everything is working. Now in my app.js, I'm going to use the React hook form. So I have a component which is deep inside. I'm going to show you how to use form context for that. Okay, so I'm going to use form and then use form context inside. So let's start with use form first. So here in the app, I'm going to use so let's import the use form part first. Import use from React hook form. Okay, and I'm going to create a form provider. So const form is equal to use form, and I need a form provider. So let me go to context and pick form provider from here. Okay, form provider, and I'm going to wrap my form using form provider, and I have to spread this form object here as args. Okay, now as I have wrapped sorry, I should be form, not methods. As I have wrapped my form component with form provider, I can use form context here to get reference to that form. But let's check if everything is still working. Yes, it's still working. Okay, let me go back and let me import use form context here, just to make sure the context is propagating. And const and I'm just going to console log this thing. So to see this, okay, so I'm getting form context inside here. Okay, now let's go and implement the React hook form. I'm going to use controller because controller allows React hook form to work with externally controlled components such as material UI. Okay, so I'm going to go and use the sample code from controller here. Okay, I'm going to import controller, then wrap my component using controller. So I'll just copy paste this thing. Here name is first name. I don't have to specify the control because I'm using form context, and I'm going to put this whole text field inside the render method. Okay, and then going to set, attach on change, on blur, and value everything to this. So on change equal to on change, on blur, value, and ref. Okay, so let's see if it's working. Yes, it is. And now I have to provide default values to this form. So I'm going to provide here in default values, and I'm going to provide first name as blank. sorry, this should be colon. Okay, fill is ready with the controller. I'm going to go and add a button for submitting the form. I'm going to use material UI button again. I'm going to use a primary button here. So its button variant is contained and color primary, this one. Okay, let me import button from material UI. I'm going to put a button here outside this control, sorry, here, and I'm going to call it submit, and pass type is equal to submit. Fine, let's give it a line break. We'll do the from arrangement later. Right now I'm just going to use line break because our focus is to build the validation components. Okay, the submit button is added. I'm going to go to app and put a form here, form on submit equal to form dot handle submit on submit. Okay, let's try that. The output of submit. Oops, I made some mistake there. Okay, fine. Yeah, so this name should be first name, and the label is first space name. And let me clear this. And now let me submit it. Okay, empty. Let me put something here, my name, submit. Okay, Mukta. So form is working. Let's put some validation. So I'm going to go here and put outside the render method, I'm going to put rules required. So it's still empty, and now it says a message is required. Okay, so validation is added. Let's observe the state using form state. I need to import this, and let me log this form state as form state. Let's refresh this. I'm going to submit it. So this form state is first name and message is required. Okay, so let's put here error equal to form state dot errors dot first name. So you can see now it is getting it is turning red because the error is becoming true. So if I type something here, the error disappears because the form state doesn't have the error. But if I make it empty, it becomes red because the form state has error first name. and then I can display this message as helper text. So I can have helper text equal to form state dot errors dot first name dot message. So a question mark here will, I mean, if this object exists, if it is not null and not undefined, then only it will execute. So I'm going to see required. If I type here, it disappears. When it is empty, it's required. Okay. This form context is not actually required, so I can safely remove this thing. Now if I want to add a last name field here, I'll have to copy this, paste this, then change this to last name. Again, write the render method, last name, everything, and then here change it to last name, and so on. And this is only for text field. So if I want to do it for any other control, so this is like, okay. So if I want to do it for any other control, I'll have to keep repeating this again and again. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we are going to convert it into a component which is reusable. I'm going to create a folder called components, and inside that I'm going to create a component called form field. Okay. And what I'm going to do is from my form I'm going to copy the entire this thing and paste it here. Okay, so I'm going to create this controller wrap component inside here in the form field. For that I will need this controller and use form state inside there. So I'm going to use this controller and use form state, and then copy and paste this form part also here. And now this name is coming from the props, right? It should come from the props. So I'm going to put a name here and name. Then this label should also come from the props. So I'm going to put label here, a variant outlined, comma, size small, variant and size here, which are coming from the props. But if there are any other props passed by the user, all those should also go here. So I'm going to spread the rest props here as well. Okay. Next, the text field will not be the component always. So I want to accept this component as a prop. I'm going to have component here. Let's convert. I can remove control and this from here. I can now replace this with like this, form field component equal to text field. Name equal to first name, label equal to first name. And rules to be accepted from outside as well. So rules here required. let's accept the rules and these rules. Similarly, I can create a form field, name, label, rules. So import form field, import form field from component slash form field. First name should be in double quotes. I have first name and last name here. Both are getting validated, but the code is reduced to this much. I just need to use form field and component. I can further reduce it by creating like a text field component, and then having a text field use form field. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this thing here. This can be passed as it's. And here I can use text field instead of importing from it from here. I can import text field from component slash text field, and I can have text field here, and I can use it exactly like material UI text field with additional rules. So using text field here, so it will go into an infinite loop. So what you have to do is import text field as MUI text field, material UI text field from material UI code and then use this material UI text field here. You need to do is forward the ref. So I'm going to create const text field is equal to react dot forward ref and props and ref. And then we have our working text boxes. Let's put a couple of line breaks. Okay, so whatever props you pass here will be actually passed to, so all the props are being passed to this form field, and from form field all the rest of the props are being passed to this component. So if you want to pass any prop to this text field directly, will be passed. You just have to use those here and will be forwarded. One last thing remaining. If you notice, we are checking the form state errors for the fixed name, last name, but actually our name changes according to our prop. So I'm just going to replace this with if form state error exists and form state errors name exist. Similarly, I'm going to convert this helper text to form state error and form state errors name dot message. Okay, let's see, let's refresh it once. So I'll submit. If I change this doesn't change. If I okay, you are getting this warning, a component is changing from uncontrolled input to controlled input because you don't have last name in your default values. Once you do that, all is good, error is gone. and we have a perfectly validating component. This way you can create any component. In our next part, we'll create some more components like radio buttons, check boxes, and selects. Stay tuned.